welcome to the Lifestyle Refresh podcast. I'm Stephanie, and I'm so excited to have you here. This is a space where we explore what it really means to live a balanced, healthy, and fulfilled life through fitness, mindfulness, resilience, and everything in between. I created this podcast to share with you my journey, all the ups and downs, and the lessons I've learned along the way. My hope is that it inspires you to show up for yourself no matter where you're starting from. Each episode will dive into topics that will help you refresh your mindset, habits, and lifestyle so that you can step into the best version of yourself. I'm so glad you're here to join me on this journey. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm so glad you're here. Today's episode feels incredibly personal, but I know it's something truly that so many of us are navigating right now, so I think it's important to talk about. Healing and self-acceptance. Recently, I came across a post that said healing begins when you stop outsourcing your worth. And man, did that stop me in my tracks and get me thinking, because it absolutely is something I've been reflecting on in my own life. How often do we base our value on someone else's approval or acceptance? And how often do we push away the parts of ourselves that we feel aren't good enough, hoping others won't notice? So if you felt like you're not enough, you've maybe struggled with perfectionism or self-doubt, or you're just tired of being your own worst critic, this episode is for you. So let's dive in. I want to share some real raw thoughts, some things that I've learned, and some questions maybe to help you reflect on where you are in your journey. So I'll start with a personal story. And I'll be honest with you, self-acceptance hasn't been easy for me. For a long time, I would also push away parts of myself that I didn't feel like measured up, whether it was choices I've made for myself throughout life or just how big and bold my personality can be. But since I was a kid, I've always had this burning thought, this deep feeling inside me that I was meant to be something important. And when I was younger, I thought that meant being famous, because isn't that what importance looks like to us as kids? But as I've grown, I've started to really explore my purpose. And I've realized it's something deeper than that. My purpose isn't about recognition or status. It's about helping others. It's about supporting people as they grow, heal, and step into their own power. I know that now, but for so many years, I also doubted myself. There were times that I thought maybe I'm not actually worth it. Maybe this is just some crazy childhood dream I've held on to for too long. So have you ever felt that way? Like there's something big calling you, but you don't feel worthy of it? Like the dream is too big or too bold. Maybe it's just not meant for you. For me, that doubt kept me small for a long time. I questioned my value. I felt like I needed someone else to validate that my purpose was real, that I was real. And honestly, it wasn't until I started venturing down this new path of mine, of helping others, of healing myself, that I began to believe in that purpose again. And maybe you're in that place right now. Maybe you feel the pull towards something greater, but there's that voice inside you saying, who do you think you are to do this? Let me tell you this. That voice is wrong. You are worthy of whatever it is that's calling you. That purpose, that dream, it wouldn't exist if it wasn't meant for you. The journey isn't about proving yourself or proving it to anyone else. It's about showing up for yourself and learning to trust that you are enough just as you are. So let me ask you this. What's one dream or calling you've pushed aside because it felt too big or too unrealistic? And what would it feel like to stop doubting yourself just for a moment and take one small step toward that dream? All right, so let's talk about why this is so hard. We live in a world that constantly tells us we aren't enough. Whether it's social media, culture, or even well-meaning people in our lives, there's just this pressure to be perfect, to look a certain way, or just to have it all together. But here's the thing. When we try to hide or change who we are, we're sending a message to ourselves that we're not lovable as we are. So let me ask you this. Are there parts of yourself that you feel ashamed of? Or are there things you've been hiding because you're afraid of what others might think? And here's a big one. What would it feel like to stop running from those parts of yourself? Take a moment with those questions. Sit with that. And it's okay if it feels uncomfortable. This is all part of the process. Okay, so where do we start? Right? Healing and self-love. It can all be tough to push on yourself and it can feel overwhelming, but it doesn't have to. So this is why we always try to break it down into small, manageable steps. So for starters, let's acknowledge your inner critic. We all know that voice. Start noticing the negative things you say to yourself. Even in your head, there's so many thoughts we are having daily. Maybe it's something like, I'm so bad at this, or I'll never be good enough. They're little, yeah, but think of how many times. That's why when you start to notice and pay attention, you'll realize how often we're having these negative thoughts that are now limiting our beliefs. So write those thoughts down, not to believe them, but just to become more aware of them. Notice them more and ask yourself, would I say this to someone I love? And if not, why am I saying it to myself? All right, number 2, celebrate the small wins. Healing is not about doing everything perfectly. It's about progress, as with everything. So maybe today your win is just getting out of bed. Maybe you actually set that boundary, or you forgave yourself for something small. Whatever it is, celebrate it and then reflect. Right? Every day, that's how you kind of push those positive thoughts to celebrate those small stuff. So we're acknowledging the inner critic, we're being more aware of the negative, and trying to celebrate those small wins so we can bring back those positive thoughts, reinforce that positive intention. So every day you can sit down and think, what's one thing I did well today? What's one thing I can be proud of? If you can do that daily and that becomes second nature, that's going to help and be so huge for you. And number 3, reconnect with what brings you joy. Think of the last time you felt truly alive or connected. What were you doing? Who were you with? Start bringing more of that into your life, even in small ways. But notice, right, when you feel lit up with joy, start to notice what you're doing, who you're with. And if there's a pattern, definitely bring that into your life more. Surround yourself with that more. You can ask yourself, what's one thing I can do this week? Once you start to learn that, sit down and ask, what's one thing I can do this week just because it makes you happy? I'm sure you can find something. Ice cream, pizza, start small, but start to really reconnect with what makes your soul happy and what really brings you true joy. And our last one, embrace imperfection. Again, this one is tough, but so freeing. And what would it feel like to let go of the need to be perfect? To simply show up as you are, flaws and all. This is so true to everything I'm trying to do and be for myself right now, because I have always been someone that has been a perfectionist. And I didn't realize it was such a kind of negative thing in my way. So embrace it. Embrace the imperfection and try this. Next time you catch yourself striving for perfection, pause and say, am I enough as I am? Even if you don't fully believe it yet, just saying it is a step. All right? Alrighty. I want to leave you with a couple of questions to reflect on this week. First, what parts of you are you still waiting for love? And number 2, if you showed up for yourself the way you show up for others, how would that feel? And the last question, what's one small way you can start showing yourself kindness today? You don't have to have all the answers right now. But just starting to ask these questions is a great start. Those are 3 great questions. Sit and ask yourself and reflect and see what answers you come up with. All right, as we wrap up, I want you to remember this. You are worthy just as you are. Healing and self-acceptance aren't about fixing yourself. It's about reconnecting with who you've always been. So, this week, give yourself permission to take small, imperfect steps. Journal, meditate, take a walk, whatever feels right for you. But most importantly, remind yourself every day, I am enough, just as I am. And if this episode spoke to you, please take a moment and share it with someone you care about, or just let me know your thoughts. I love hearing from you all, and it's what keeps me going on this journey too. But I want to thank you all for being here with me today in this episode. If it resonated with you, let's keep the conversation going. Okay? You can share your reflections, your breakthroughs, or even your struggles. You can find me on Instagram at lifestyle_refresh. I'd love to connect with you more. Until next time, be kind to yourself. You deserve it.